Hello, historical parents. This is Chuck Taft at University School of Milwaukee, 8th grade American history coach, and I want to introduce everybody to what I like to call American history rules. That is 8th grade social studies. At USM, we pick up where Mr. Markwald left off last year with this Declaration of Independence, and we're going to get as far as we possibly can as we connect the past to the present and hopefully make a better future with our young historians, our young learners, leaders, and citizens. I do refer to our students as historians. I call myself their history coach. It's not about just learning facts and dates and spitting it out and then winning money on Jeopardy, which I wouldn't mind because, I could always use a little kickback, but it's really more about doing. Try to be as active as possible when it comes to investigating and digging deeper and making connections and creating claims and supporting them with reasoning and evidence. That's what historians do, and that's what we try to get our young historians to do. Everything we do in class is really based on inquiry. That is the core of history. It's actually the root of the word history is inquiry. So we want to get our students, our young historians, to ask questions and then kind of map out a plan in order to get those questions answered. And that's where our new learning landmarks are. That's how we've targeted what we're trying to really do in social studies across the middle school. With the depths of understanding, we want our students, our historians, to become really deep thinkers. And so in doing that, they're going to use inquiry, as we say, guided by curiosity, driven by inquiry. But they're going to use that concept of questioning and inquiry to investigate, to apply, to connect, and to reason. And that's what a lot of the feedback that students are going to be getting when we, as you probably know, we're going to a different sort of reporting system. And these landmarks you're going to hear a lot about, and students will hear a lot about as we point to them pretty much every day. Our goal is to try to get kids to think like historians, and that's another format, another set of language that I'll use about looking at history through cause and effect and how it led to change and how it led to things staying the same and what were the turning points in history and why does that matter. Looking at history through the eyes of the people who lived it, through primary sources. And not only primary sources, what they said, but what they heard, what they saw, what they sang, even how they danced. And then finally, using the past to understand the present. That's really, in my mind, why I teach history. The most four important words in my classroom are hanging on a huge big banner, probably the best $14 I've ever invested in my teaching career. Why does it matter? I point to it every day. And when students leave 8th grade, they know that this is really the focus of the class. Now, students are going to get ongoing feedback. They're going to get feedback in their understanding of content, all right, and the depth that they can apply that content and reasoning of that content. That's the history stuff, right? Also, I want to give them feedback in skills. Those skills could be anything from analysis of a primary source to analysis of an editorial cartoon to the creation of an editorial cartoon to graphical or map analysis, visual analysis. The most important skill is probably going to be, can they create a decent claim and support it with evidence based on reliable resources? That's going to be huge. And then process, in Taft's world, process is, did you bring your pencil to class and are you turning stuff in on time? That kind of feedback. But they're also going to get feedback on what we are now calling our USM tenets of excellence. They're also known as purpose-driven learning words. And these 10 terms, these 10 tenets are really core to a lot of what we want to help our young historians, our students overall, our kids, right, strive for, because we don't push for perfection. That's not what we're pushing for. We're pushing for excellence. My hope is to try to coach these young men and women to be the best possible versions of themselves, their version of excellence. And these 10 words right here, they're on my wall. We actually look at them, use them as a lens to look at history. These are the things we really want them to focus on. Not only figure out what they're strong in, what areas they're strong in, and continue to do that, but also develop some areas that they want to improve on. When it comes to the content of class, we got through. I teach American history in 4 units. We don't teach everything because we just don't have the time, but we start with We the People. So the first quarter, is going to be all about the government. And we're really focusing everything on the Declaration of Independence, which isn't a bad time to do that, considering it's going to be 250 years old by the end of the school year. So from there, we will go to the fiery trial, where we will look at antebellum enslavement, the coming of the Civil War itself, and then the important period of Reconstruction. From there, we take a look at a unit that I call Modern America Emerges, and that's really the turn of the century from the 19th century to the 20th century, where we take a look at westward expansion, the progressive movement, the growth of imperialism, and finally we go to the involvement in World War I. And then our final unit is Problems at Home, Problems Abroad. We look at the roaring 20s, the depressing 30s, the war-filled 40s, and then we go into the 50s and 60s, and we really end with the Civil Rights Movement. So it's a lot of history. It's not going to be every part of history, but it's still going to be, they're going to get their history, I can tell you that much, because Mr. Taft really likes history. Also, I try to get kids to link a lot of what we do, and I link a lot of what we do to the state of Wisconsin and the city of Milwaukee. Milwaukee is one of the most historically presenting and one of the most historically dominated cities in the United States still today. I say that because I also do Milwaukee historical tours in the summer, so I really kind of like Milwaukee history. But it's really, really a fun connection for kids to be able to make that relevance to where they live. They also are going to be conducting a very, very important, powerful, and big research project called National History Day. We've been doing it. This is the 21st year we've done National History Day. We've been sending projects to the national competition for ever since we started. And this year, every student is going to pick something to research, either alone or in a group, based on the theme of revolution, reaction, and reform in history. They're going to find out a whole lot more about this. You're going to find out a whole lot more about this. And we take this step by step. It's actually assigned in August, but it won't be due until February or January, depending on when the competitions are. But still, they got a lot of time to work on it, and many of you are familiar with it. American History class is also the location of the focus of our 8th grade service learning, which is supporting people who serve in the military. And that's what their summer reading was about. We take a look at it when we think about America's involvement in military conflict. Throughout history, we look at the present as well, and students can take some leadership in this as well. We do some activities around Veterans Day in November, and then our big activity, our big service learning project happens in every May with our March to the Memorials. So take a look for those coming up. And then, of course, we have this little field trip to Washington, D.C. It's in May. It's going to be May 4th this year. We're about 258 days away, I believe. That's my estimate, or it's actually correct. But it's an amazing trip. I love it because it brings our curriculum to life. The kids love it. I have almost everything we talk about in class. I'll say when I take you to DC, and also we really understand the true price of freedom. So you'll have much more information about Washington DC. Most of you are signed up for the trip already. If you haven't signed up, there's instructions in the email that corresponds with this video. And parents are always wondering about chaperones. If you want to be a parent, you're actually not a chaperone; it's a parent tourist. Send me an email. I'll remind you a couple times, and then if your name is picked we draw them out of a hat, then you get to join us on 108 hours of historical love in the nation's capital. Some quick advice to focus your students, and then also to focus you. What are we really looking for in and out of class? Well, again, it's that concept of inquiry. And being able to analyze sources, that's more important today than ever before because of the amount of media that is coming the way of our students. We're looking for students to be historical thinkers, not just know the facts and then and spit out the facts, but be able to take it deeper with cause and effect and changing continuity, and being able to make claims with evidence, and that evidence should be based on reliable resources. And then one of my obviously big focuses is to connect the past to the present. Not only connect the past to the present in our world, but connect the past to their present lives, and make those connections, because those connections are really, really important in order to really deepen their thinking and their understanding. A lot of what we do are based on the College Career and Civic Life C3 framework from the National Council of the Social Studies, as well as our Wisconsin Standards for Social Studies, which aren't really content-based, they're more thinking-based, because that's really what our focus is. I do have a website that I'm going to be continuously upgrading. I had one for a long time ago, and then some things happened with websites, and then now I've got it back. So that's going to be at bit.ly/amhistrules. The one thing I want to mention about the website is when students miss class, not if, but when, because I know things happen. I know things come up. The first thing they should do is they should make sure they're checking My USM, and check any, this website right here, check Google Classroom. They need to be really, really, really proactive when they miss class. That's going to help them the most, because we move pretty fast, and I try to review every class that every class that we have throughout the year, and so this is going to be the location for that. So as historical parents, I want to, first off, I want to thank you in advance for a great year and for supporting your young historians. Please keep communications open. My door is like really always open. Pop into class if you want. You're invited to class many times, especially in the first week for our pop-up museum. But if you ever have any questions or any concerns, please just let me know. And because my goal is to have an amazing year in and out of the classroom, and again, help your young historian become the best possible version of themselves. So I can't wait for school to start. I'm totally honest on that. I can't wait for school to start. I look forward to seeing you all in the hallways or in the front circle on the opening day or at back to school night or whenever our paths may cross. So once again, it's going to be a great year, and if you have any questions, let me know. But this is Chuck Taft signing off. American History Rules.